in the London Telegraph, I believe, that is it's a United Kingdom online newspaper. They published an article from a man named Sean Thomas. Now he's I guess a contributor for that paper, and he writes different things. I can't imagine that anything he writes is very good, but I'll get to that in a minute. Now, this particular article that he wrote for the Telegraph is titled, "Are Atheists Mentally Ill?" Here we go. Now, in this article, he starts out by saying, thanks to a couple of surveys, it's being put about in certain circles that atheists have higher IQs than believers. Now, there's that study that just came out in Yahoo News, and that posted a report that said that 63 scientific studies over the years have found that religious people are less intelligent than non-believers. I'll get to more in depth about that study a little bit later. But that's to which he refers. Now, he continues, that may or may not be the case, but one problem with this argument is that if you accept, quote, average group differences in IQ, you get in all sorts of sinister debates which bien pensant atheist lefties might find less to their liking. Now, you can already tell what kind of side this guy's on. This is a hit piece. This is you can tell what kind of inflection that he has in the way that he writes. And the interesting part is that, well, yeah, but if you accept IQ, a scientific measurement, then sure it says that. But what about something else? And he gets into what else. Quote, let's dispense with the crude metric of IQ. Instantly, he loses the argument. And look at the actual lives led by atheists and believers and see how they measure up. In other words, let's see who's living more intelligently. First of all, what are your thoughts on this so far?
Well, it sounds like he's perfectly objective and unbiased, and I'm sure he knows a lot about atheists' lives because I'm sure he hangs out with and talks with a whole bunch of them.
Right, and what about the statement of, let's see who's living intelligently? Well, if you're already taking the measure of IQ out of the equation, what exactly are you measuring? This is no longer talking about intelligence.
Yeah, he's not making any real sense. He sounds butthurt because of all the scientific evidence that has come out that basically proves that he's an idiot.
And I'll get into that.
And he doesn't like that, so he created this article, which is just basically a nutbag ranting about, hateful, terrible atheists that make him feel uncomfortable with himself.
Right. We haven't gotten into the fun parts yet. Now, some of the studies that he uses, and they're legitimate studies, don't get me wrong, he says in 2004, scholars at UCLA revealed that college students involved in religious activities are likely to have better mental health. In 2006, population researchers at the University of Texas discovered that the more often you go to church, the longer you live. In the same year, researchers at Duke University in America discovered that religious people have stronger immune systems than the irreligious. They also established that churchgoers have lower blood pressure.
Well, that makes sense because they're deluding themselves into believing a reality that doesn't exist.
Have you ever heard of ignorance is bliss?
Absolutely. And also, I think it is a mass generalization that I think will prove itself more reversed in the years to come, because as of right now, if you're an atheist or a non-believer, you're facing a lot of scrutiny. You're facing a lot of stress.
There are states in the Union where you cannot openly serve in office
Absolutely.
As an atheist. They won't allow you to, which is completely unconstitutional because there shall be no litmus test for office.
Right, yeah, so as an atheist, one faces all sorts of discrimination, and also you see things from, well, you're seeing reality. You're more closely tied to reality. Everyone has their blind spots.
And
but
reality
you're more likely,
can be a pretty harsh bitch sometimes.
Yes, and you're more likely to become stressed out by those around you, especially, I myself become increasingly frustrated with the religiosity that, you know, I'm surrounded by, in both in people and in culture, and, you know, how religion influences our laws and you know, takes rights away from people and tries to control people's lives. That's a lot of stress for a
Also,
non-religious person to deal with.
right. Also, you know, if you're a religious person, you know, no matter how bad it gets, you have this faith, and it's based on faith, that
Hmm.
there's a place that is better for you, so that you don't have to deal with, okay, well, you know, things are pretty bad now, but you know what? I'm going to heaven, and it's going to be great. It's going to be
Right.
fantastic. So, yeah, that can generally make you feel like you're a happier person. But this doesn't necessarily mean that you're a smarter person. And that's what this
Absolutely.
article does not address. This article says, well, we're happier. Yeah, but happiness doesn't mean you're smart.
Right, that's very true. Like, absolutely. I mean, it's perfect for them. Ignorance is bliss. And of course, it makes sense that non-believers, non-religious people are more intelligent than religious people. I'm sorry, religious people, but it's just true, because religion, the Bible, preachers, um, uh, priests, they all discourage critical thinking, objectivity, questioning anything, questioning authority, questioning what you're told. They they discourage scientific knowledge. They discourage factual learning and a factual understanding of the world. So it only makes sense that non-believers would have a higher IQ, because they're more likely to engage in critical thinking, critical analysis, you know, seeking out knowledge that, yeah, is outside of their comfort zone. You know, things like that, things that expand the mind, things that exercise the mind. That's what religious people are discouraged from doing.
Because, and the main difference between religious people and not religious people is not, it has, you know, it has nothing to do with IQ. It has nothing to do with, you know, if one side is better than the other. It really comes down to who asks the questions. Well, atheists don't know. Agnostics don't know. So they ask more questions. Religious people think that they have all the answers. They have all the
Right.
answers contained in one book. And so when you stop asking questions and think you have all the answers, that stops progress.
That stops learning. If you don't
But
ask
it
questions, you're not
doesn't,
going to learn.
and I'm not trying to say that, you know, religious people don't ask questions. There have been a lot of religious people throughout the ages that have asked questions that have led to great scientific advances. In trying to understand God, they discovered science, which is independent of God, but in the pursuit of finding God, they found science.